Kamala Harris announced that she's running for president in 2020. She did it on Martin Luther King Day. This comes as a surprise. The fact that she's running comes as a surprise to nobody who's really a political junkie and has been paying attention to this. So I want to take a second and look at her launch video, and then we'll break that down and go into her record.
Truth, justice, decency, equality, freedom, democracy. These aren't just words. They're the values we as Americans cherish, and they're all on the line now. The future of our country depends on you and millions of others lifting our voices to fight for our American values. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. I'm running to lift those voices, to bring our voices together. So please join me in Oakland on Sunday, January 27th, and go to kamalaharris.org to join our campaign. Let's do this together. Let's claim our future for ourselves, for our children, and for our country. I'll see you in Oakland.
Now, like I said, I'm going to get to her record in a second, but I mean, as far as that launch goes, it was objectively terrible. Like, all right, listen, you can't, it's not the 1990s anymore. Oh my God, how many times do I have to make this point to Democrats of today? You're running campaigns like it's 1992. You really are. And you're acting like Donald Trump didn't happen and totally changed the game. The old political playbook that all these Democrats are using, throw it out. Light it on fire. It's useless. He proved that all that stuff is just out the window. It's made up. Overpaid Democratic strategists came up with this plan on how to win, and they're sticking to it even though it's proven time and time again to fail and it doesn't fucking work, but they can't help themselves because that's their comfort zone. So, I mean, look at that ad. Cheesy, unnecessary 1980s music in the background. Why is the music there? Why is the music there? We'll lighten up the mood a little bit by putting some music in there. All right, guys? What's the haps, guys? The person who came up with that idea originally is somebody on Kamala Harris's campaign who likes to say stuff like, "What's the haps?" when he's asking people what's going on. What's the haps, guys? Did we add my music yet to the launch video? I know this is going to work out well. So you got that. That pissed me off. The music pissed me off. The other thing that pissed me off was the fucking hand motion. Oh my God. This is one of the things that I spoke about when I was on Joe Rogan's podcast the first time. And I gave the exact description. You can go back and check it out. I gave the exact description of what she did there. That's the classic standard, overthinking politician who was told by a strategist, hey, listen, when you talk, don't point with your finger. That's too direct and too in people's faces, and they won't like that. So when you're trying to make a point, you have to soften it a little bit and, curl your thumb down so it's not pointing directly at the people and talk like this. It's like, I'm a sincere politician and I'm going to be a straight shooter even though I'm not doing that right now, and I will never do that, but I'm a politician who's doing the proper hand motion. Do you all see my hand motion? Are you going to give me political points for this hand motion? This is good, isn't it? So we got the music, strike one. By the way, strike one, you're out. There's no 2 and 3. That music was horrible. The hand motion, which is so overcoached and you're trying way too hard. But then the worst part is, you didn't say anything in that ad. Again, they're running like it's the 1990s. So, I want to tell you what I am in favor of. I'm for good things and I'm against bad things. This is my parody, my caricature of a corporate Democrat I originally used it with Tom Perez, but you could use it for any corporate Democrat. What I want to tell people is that we're here to live our values, and I'm in favor of good things and I'm against bad things. And if you're in favor of good things and against bad things too, then you should probably support us. Like that's how we make fun of him. But she's actually doing it. She's like, all right, strategists, let's sit down and come up with really, really vague, flowery words and just throw them out there. And then say, you like these things too, right? She said, justice, equality, freedom, democracy. We need to fight for our American values. What does that mean? This is not the 1990s anymore. You got straight savages in your base. I know because I'm among them in the Democratic base who have a very crystal clear agenda and policy preferences that we want, that we've been screaming about for years now. It's like, think about it. With the Republican base, now we disagree with them, but they're like, okay, here's what we want. We want lower taxes. We want the wall. We want this. We want that. It's crystal clear. And what do the Republican politicians do? Yeah, I'm gonna get lower taxes, and I'm gonna fight for the wall. They tell them exactly what they want to hear. What do the Democratic politicians do? They never. I'm Kamala Harris, and in my announcement, I want to be very clear. I'm running for president for some very simple reasons. First and foremost, I want to get Medicare for all because we have 29 million Americans who don't have health care in this country, health insurance in this country, and up to 45,000 Americans die every year because they don't have access to basic health care. I'm fighting for Medicare for all. I'm fighting for a living wage and the right to a union. Why? Because our working class is being hollowed out. 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Half of working Americans make less than $30,000 a year. Like, if you were crystal clear and laid your agenda out like that, everybody would be like, oh, damn, that's a formidable ad. But what do you do instead? I am justice, equality, freedom, democracy. Does anybody else have good words? Happiness, lovely walks on the beaches, rainbows, puppies. These are all things that are positive things. I want you to think of positive things and then think of me. I don't want to have to do the hard work of earning your trust. I just want to vomit out platitudes and cliches and have you support me. Listen, I'm really hard on these Democrats. Why? Because they are a fundamental weakness in the Democratic Party. Okay, obviously this puts into question her sincerity in terms of actually being in favor of that progressive agenda and fighting for that actual progressive agenda. But even putting the policy angle of this aside, in terms of the raw politics of this is how you lose to a monster like Donald Trump, right here. Because if he goes out there and does the fake populism again all day long, and then you're out there vomiting up platitudes and cliches, which is not saying anything, and just kind of expecting, this is the lazy attempt to just like defaulting to everybody's going to vote for me, right? Well, that doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. Nobody likes this kind of politician. Why would you act like a standard politician when the American people despise standard politicians? There's a reason why Congress has an approval rating of fucking 19%. So why would you go out there and say, I will embody the stereotypical politician when I know Americans hate politicians? Okay, I'm done blasting this from the perspective of, you know, the optics of it, the politics of it. Now let's get into her record, because that's more important, okay? Now, I've done this with every candidate so far. I've tried to dive into, okay, here they're positive, here are their negatives. I'm going to give you a breakdown of it, and you make your own mind up. Now, in the case of researching for Kamala Harris, I was like, God damn, she's worse than I thought. So with others, I was a little surprised. Okay, not as bad as I thought. With Kamala Harris, she's worse than I thought. Okay, so first we'll do the positives. It's a short list. She's, you know, the standard ones for Democrats. She's pro-choice, pro-gay rights. She's in favor of gun reform. She's in favor of the Paris Agreement. She has expressed signing on to Bernie Sanders' free college bill. Wonderful. She has said she's for Medicare for all. Wonderful. Now, again, I'm upfront with you guys. I've told you from the beginning, I do make a distinction between the Democrats who were for Medicare for all early on and the ones who just kind of hopped on the bandwagon. Because what that tells me is the ones who were for it early on, it's much more likely they will actively fight for it when they're in office. Whereas the ones who, it was an afterthought and they just kind of hopped on the bandwagon, they saw where the political winds were going and they said, okay, I'm for it. But I don't know how hard they will fight for it once they're in office. To me, I think they'd be much more willing to just kind of cave and do another compromise and maybe get a public option or something like that. So, but still, having said that, credit where it's due, she is for Medicare for all. She came to the proper position on that. Another thing that she deserves credit is she's against TPP. That's a big thing because there are many corporate Democrats who aren't. I mean, Hillary Clinton early on was not. Then she had to pretend like she was against it. Barack Obama was not. Barack Obama was pushing for TPP even up till his his last months in office. So credit where credit's due. Now, that's the list of the positive stuff. The negatives. Get ready for this. So, stunned, but she was against body cameras on police officers. What? That's an easy one. I mean, come on. That's such an easy way. And by the way, they've studied this and the statistics show there is a drop in reported instances of police misconduct when you put body cams on officers. Why? Because just the fact that they know they're being recorded, they're much more likely to behave themselves and not act out of line. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Now, it's not a cure-all. We've seen situations where, the cop is wearing a body camera and he still kills an unarmed person and he still gets away. Okay? We've seen that. But it is a step in the right direction, and it's a policy that makes sense, and she's against it. Now, why is that? Because she's a law enforcement person. She's Attorney General in California. So she's all about, law and order. So, unfortunately, in today's day and age, that too often means just de facto siding with the cops. So she was against body cams on cops. That's a tough one. I mean, that's really, that's not good. Also, massively, massively, massively pro-Israel to the point where she went to AIPAC. And I saw the video. I'm not going to play the video for you here. I don't know what the copyright situation is with that video, but she went to AIPAC and she basically ran down the list of all the things that they wanted her to say. She said, I'm in favor of the U.S. giving $38 billion to Israel. I'm in favor of us giving them weapons. I'm in favor of us giving them aid. So you want to give them, as they permanently occupy Palestinian land, and as they have an apartheid system set up, and as they do a bomb fest in Gaza every couple of years and they massacre women and children, you're in favor of giving them military aid, and you're in favor of giving them, just aid. And when they have a universal healthcare system, we don't have a universal healthcare system, but $38 billion to Israel is totally cool with you. No strings attached, huh? Like, see, I know, as a matter of fact, she would not fight them when they do fucked up things. She would not put pressure on them, diplomatic pressure, economic pressure, to try to get them to not destroy Palestinian lives, get a peace deal, because she said it. Now, the other crazy thing is, the video that was circulating online of this, of her speech to AIPAC, that was from 2 years ago. Last year, she's clever. So what did she do? She said, I'm not going to give a speech. I'm going to talk to you guys in private. So she spoke to AIPAC in private, and that whole point of that was, I know I'm going to run for president. I know the winds of the party are in favor of Palestinian rights and not just closing your eyes and covering your ears and saying Israel's right about everything. She sees the political win, so she's like, I'm going to be weaselly about this, and I'm not going to even say it publicly. I'm going to tell you guys in private. Meaning, she knows she's wrong, but she's telling them what they want to hear anyway because she has political ambitions. That's what that means. That's slimy, that's sleazy, that's wrong. Okay? So, massive strike against her, massively pro-Israel. Also, here's the classic thing that always stuck in my craw from the beginning, is when I learned that she refused to prosecute Steve Mnuchin when she was Attorney General of California, her own office said, you really need to prosecute this guy. Why? Because Steve Mnuchin, the Goldman Sachs lackey, by the way, who's in the Trump administration, he was also the head of One West Bank in California. One West Bank was illegally foreclosing early on people during the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. Literally kicking grandmas out of their house, out of their houses. And Kamala Harris saw that and said, yeah, we're not going to prosecute. Again, a lot of these things seem like really beyond the pale to me, like really fucked up. Then, it was either 2012 or 2014, she had an opponent for her election, and the Republican was in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana. When that was presented to her by a reporter, you know what her response was? She laughed. She laughed and said he's entitled to his opinion. Okay, that's that kind of smug nothingness, vapidness that I'm so averse to. I mean, that is like You're laughing in 2012 or 2014, not that long ago, you're laughing at the idea of legal marijuana. It was at that time that legal marijuana was already becoming like a popular issue. I don't know if it was over 50% in 2012 or 2014. In 2014, it definitely was. 2012, I'm not sure. It was probably hovering around that 50% mark in terms of who supports it. And she laughed at it. She thought it was such a preposterous idea that she laughed at the idea of legal marijuana. Why? Because Kamala Harris is a cop. Again, law enforcement background. I can't, like, that to me was like you crossed a red line there. Because how many lives have been destroyed by the war on drugs? By the way, she's going to run heavily on the idea that she's a progressive prosecutor. Well, how many black and brown lives did you destroy by being a drug warrior and by being against legal recreational marijuana? How many lives have been destroyed because of your approach? And then you smugly laugh at it when a Republican, nonetheless, outflanks you on your left and says, I'm for legal marijuana. It's the drug war, by many experts, is called the new Jim Crow. Why? Because it's a way to over-police black and brown communities, poor white communities too, don't get me wrong, but you can over-police black and brown communities, and the statistics show that the drug war is disproportionately used to crack down on minorities, to lock them up. So it's to handle undesirable populations. It's a tool that's used. And so many experts call it the new Jim Crow. She was a proponent of that, laughing at the idea of legal marijuana. That's insanely insufferable is what that is. Now, beyond that, she defended California's 3-strike laws. For those of you who don't know what that means is if you have 3 felonies, no matter how minor those felonies are, life in prison. That's what you get. Now, why does that exist? What's up with that? Well, very simply, private prisons lobbied for that. They lobbied for 3 strikes laws. Why? Because then they get more asses and more beds and they make more money. Kamala Harris was for 3 strikes laws. Then there's the issue with criminal truancy. So she pushed to criminalize truancy and give parents of kids who miss school criminal records, misdemeanors, if their kids miss school. And probably the worst thing about her is that she repeatedly sided with cops over wrongfully convicted people. In fact, there's a high-profile case of a guy named Daniel Larson. I'm not going to get into the details now because we only have so much time, but there's a guy named Daniel Larson. He was declared innocent by a federal judge, and Kamala Harris fought to keep him locked up. Not arguing, hey, listen, on the substance, I think he's guilty. The argument was, oh, no, I know that he's innocent, but on a technicality, he was late to file his paperwork, so I'm going to keep him locked up. Again, why would Kamala Harris do a thing like this? Destroy lives, willy-nilly. Because Kamala Harris is a cop. She sides with law enforcement in just a default kind of way. Like, it's the default setting for her. I agree with law enforcement. Legal marijuana? Oh, please. Oh, please. The circles I run in, we're against that. Oh, this guy's innocent and behind bars. I don't want to fuck up our conviction rate. So, sorry. On a technicality, we're going to try to keep you locked up. I mean, that is monstrous, man. That really is. She also tried to dismiss a case that was critical of solitary confinement in California. Solitary confinement, by many experts, is considered torture. She fought a suit that was brought by a sex workers' rights organization to legalize prostitution in California. Now, this organization was saying, hey, listen, when prostitution is illegal, it's pushed underground. When it's pushed underground, the crime rate spikes, the STD rate spikes. You're putting lives of sex workers in danger by taking the position that it should be illegal. Well, Kamala Harris, like I just said, fought a sex workers' rights organization and tried to keep it illegal, which destroys sex workers' lives. Again, you couldn't make this stuff up. There's a lot of negatives here on Kamala Harris, man. There really is. She also defended California's death penalty law. Now, she says she's against it personally, but she was defending it. Okay, make of that what you will. And then finally, listen to this this line here from Jacobin. Here's what they say. Quote, Harris was likewise a firm proponent of civil asset forfeiture, sponsoring a bill to allow prosecutors to seize profits before charges were even filed. So civil asset forfeiture is legalized robbery by cop. All they have to do is say, I think that you're about to use this money in a drug deal. I think that this is about to be used for illegal purposes. So I'm just going to seize it. And now you can't even get it back. So I'm just going to take your money. You can't get it back. And I'm going to flip the burden of proof. I'm going to flip the way our system is supposed to work. And now you're guilty until proven innocent. I just declared that you're guilty. I don't need to present any evidence showing that you actually are going to use this money or these assets in a crime. I just seized your car, seized your money, because I suspect you might do something wrong with it, and now you have no recourse. By the way, that is brazenly unconstitutional, and I think at some point it will be struck down because it's just so unconstitutional and so ridiculous. It flips the burden of proof. Kamala Harris is a, quote, firm proponent of civil asset forfeiture, sponsoring a bill to allow prosecutors to seize profits before charges were even filed. It's bad enough if they do it even after charges are filed. She said before charges, so a cop could just pull you over and go, I don't like the way you look. I'm going to take your car. I'm going to take whatever money you have on you, and that's totally legal. Legalized robbery by cop. And we've covered stories, for the record, of cops who seize money, seize assets, and then they use it for personal benefit. There was one example, they seized cash from somebody, presented no evidence of any wrongdoing, and then they built themselves a break room with a margarita machine. Or was it a cappuccino machine? This is in the United States of America. Kamala Harris supports that. Oh, shit. And then listen, man. Oh, it's already getting bad. By the way, all of these things I just told you, facts. Data, information. Go ahead, turn on CNN, turn on MSNBC, turn on mainstream media. Give me one example of one reporter or journalist who gave you a better breakdown than I did, or even an equal breakdown to what I just did. Didn't happen. Not gonna happen. They're not gonna do it. In fact, what they're doing right now is propaganda for her. We're going to get to the story in a little bit, but every major news organization is like, oh, she's the favorite. What do you mean she's the favorite? Okay, so where's the polling that backs that up? Where's the any data, any information, anything to back that up? Oh, we don't have any. So how can you declare her the favorite? Well, we're going to say she's the favorite because she's a minority woman, so identity politics all day long, and then also, well, she's backed by the establishment, and we're part of the establishment, so that's why she's the favorite. Minority woman. So if you go after her, you're obviously sexist and racist, and then also backed by the establishment. Here we go again. Now, instead of going through her record like I just did with you, what did they do the other day? They ran stories on one of the people on her campaign tweeted a video like, what do we do when we get tired writing speeches? We hang back and relax and chill. And you click the video and it's Kamala Harris listening to Cardi B dancing. It's just a little short video, 5-second video, maybe 10-second video max. And she's dancing to Cardi B. Now, it's not like that's not a thing that just happened that wasn't massively planned out. She's a scheming politician. So they thought, I have an idea. How about if we make it look like we just relax and chill and dance and whatnot and enjoy ourselves? And you know how you know that that's the case? Here's how you know. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter. Brilliant catch. They said, if you listen closely, it's the clean version of the Cardi B song. Of course. So it's like they all got together and they were like, how can we be more relatable? How can we get our social media numbers up and help our campaign? I got an idea. Let's send out a video of us just casually dancing. We'll pretend like you don't know that we're recording it, Kamala. But we can't go too far and have it be, the dirty curse words. No. That'd be too real, and we might get criticism. So just put the clean version on, and then mainstream media will drool all over itself and act like, she's so down to earth and relatable. This isn't overly planned and fake. It's so cringy. And listen, it's not just her on this front. When Elizabeth Warren did oh, howdy. Sure, I just announced for president today. I'm just hanging out in my kitchen, and I'm going to drink some beer. See me sipping a beer? Aren't I so relatable? Come on. Stop it. You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to be like AOC. But again, we've gone over this. The reason why AOC does it and not only gets away with it, but it's a massive boost for her and it's a positive for her, is because she's a millennial. And that's some shit that she would do anyway. But if you're Elizabeth Warren, listen, Liz, we love you. But we love you for who you are. You don't have to try to be something you're not. You don't have to try to fucking play Fortnite on a live stream on Twitch. Go write your legislation about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Go crack down on Wall Street and we'll all be there cheering you on. I mean, for fuck's sake, you don't have to fucking do an appearance with Keemstar or some shit. What the fuck? In the case of Kamala Harris, well, listen, we don't love you for who you are because I just went through your record and it's disastrous. But all this is an attempt to override the negative shit about her legacy and try to pretend like, who, me? Oh, I'm cool, I'm hip, I'm with it. I'm just dancing to Cardi B in my office. Nothing to see here. I'm just one of you guys. Anyway, let's have the cops steal your shit and give you no recourse whatsoever. Let's try to keep an innocent man locked up. Let's laugh at the idea of legal marijuana. But I am dancing to Cardi B. So I am the favorite. I am the front runner, right? Based on no evidence, no polling data. Fuck, man. God damn it. Buckle up. We got over a year of this ahead. Of them trying to, oh my God, Kamala Harris, she's so relatable. Here she is taking a BuzzFeed quiz. Oh God. It brings me back to the mental scars I have from, I need you to Pokemon Go to the polls. Because it's so planned out, and it's so over the top, and it's so tasteless, and most importantly, it's pedantic and condescending. Oh, you millennials. You'll never understand the policy details. Meanwhile, we're the fucking policy wonks! We're the ones who are screaming about Medicare for all and free college and a living wage and ending the wars and all this stuff. Even the earned income tax credit. We know the fucking policy stuff, but the idea is, well, we got this. We're older than you. We got this. Know your role. I'll throw out a couple lines about fucking Pokemon or some shit. What's the other stuff that you guys like today? Huh? You like gaming? What games? Give me a name of a game. I'll throw it out there, and then they gotta have they think you'll have a Pavlovian response like, oh, Kamala like Cardi B, me like Kamala. It's so condescending. Meanwhile, we're on to you. We're the generation that has the most information at our fingertips. No offense to anybody who's older in age, but we're not like the zombies who zonk out on Xanax and watch 8 hours of Fox News all day where Sean Hannity lies to us and we go, it must be true, Sean said it. We're not like that. We research shit. Anyway, I digress. This segment has gone on for far too long, but Kamala Harris 2020, needless to say, I will not be supporting her. And as far as where she falls in the pecking order, let's put it this way. I'll be kind. It's not in the top half of candidates.